Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Turnbuckles, Trunks, and Titles. And y'all know me. It's Nick, the guy that's been around forever. Many people think I'm just old as dirt, and I'm actually very young. But then there's the man himself who likes to snack on danger and dine on death. We call him the one and only Cue Ball Carmichael. Q, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. It was fabulous. And by the way, it's all true. So anybody that knows me knows that. So
Well, I mean, you're still the man of the hour, the man with the power, But today, we all know you dine on danger, or you snack on danger, you dine on death. That's why we love you.
It's delicious. You should try it sometime.
Well, I'm pretty scared.
Recommend a restaurant. But it's another Tuesday night, and we're back with Triple T Radio, and we're back for a multi-part series where we go back through and cover the NWA television title from inception to deactivation, and we're going to do the same with the National Heavyweight Championship because back in the day, the NWA, they had stepping stones. They had minor titles all over. I was the NWA Virginia heavyweight champion at one time and faced my best friend, the late Buddy Landell, for that very title. And he almost got me, but, I won't say I outsmarted him, but I did have two big guys on the outside of the ring.
And anytime you're carrying a belt for your city, your state in the NWA, it was a big deal.
Well, I lived in Virginia for 22 years, so it was a big deal for me winning that title. I mean, I looked at it. I had more respect. I had a lot of respect for the titles that I carried. But I had the utmost respect for the NWA Virginia Heavyweight Championship. And why it meant so much to me is, as far as I know, I'm the only active wrestler to hold NWA championships in the last 3 decades, in 3 different decades. I had the NWA 2000 belt for Steve Corino's promotion, NWA 2000. And then I went on to win the tag team titles for NWA Worldwide Wrestling 2 times, once with Sean Denny and once with Pat Cusick. So 2-time champion there. So if you look back at the history of NWA titles, going back to the NWA 2000 or the NWA Virginia, the NWA 2000. The 2000 was in the 90s. The NWA Virginia was in the 90s. The NWA tag team title was in the 2010s. So if you look, I had a title in the teens of this decade. I had a title in the single digits there, and then I had another title. Tag team titles with Pat Cusick. So with the NWA Virginia heavyweight title, the NWA 2000 champion title, tag team title, and then the NWA worldwide tag team titles. You're going through the decades of the 90s, of the millennium, and then of the teens of the millennium. So, 3 decades. I'm very proud of that fact. I think Preston Quinn is tied with me. I think he's had 3 belts in at least 2 decades, maybe 3. I have to get him to comment on that. But as far as I know, and still be active and have a couple matches every year just to say you did it. I'm not impressed with myself, but I'm proud of myself.
Sure.
So.
Well, here, let me ask you this. Just a quick sidebar. For as often as you talk about your singles career, and now you're telling me about your 2-time NWA tag belts, I just got to ask, what are you preferring? Tag team or singles?
I'm spoiled because what you probably don't know is from 1995 to 2002, I tagged exclusively with wise guy Jimmy Cicero, and we were known in the Pittsburgh market as High Society. We also brought in the Mess Brothers. We brought in Tom Brandy, was part of High Society. And High Society, both in Steel City Wrestling, in AP Allied Powers Wrestling Federation. I had the TV title there. And then you had Sal Conti's group, which was what was it? I'll remember in a minute. But Sal Conti had a big NWA group or wrestling group up there. All three of those guys had television. So you got to understand the Pittsburgh market. We've got one promotion where the name will come to me. I think brainstorm. You think it come to me faster, but in the Beaver Dome for television for this group, I'm wrestling Dominic DeNucci in the main event, and Bruno Sammartino's calling the match. And I've got the video, and it's up on, I believe it's up on YouTube. It's not, I'll load it. But I got Bruno saying on a microphone, you know what cue ball's about? He's the dirtiest guy in the game right now. So, when Bruno Sammartino calls you the dirtiest guy in the game, and you're wrestling his buddy Dominic DeNucci, a legend who asked specifically for me that night. He was supposed to wrestle one of his students that had been out about 3 years. But about a month prior, Dominic and I had a match one weekend. And after that, about a month later, I saw him, and he was supposed to wrestle somebody else, and he went to the promoter and made him put him with me. And then when he did the sold-out Beaver Down, and he did the same thing, he's supposed to wrestle somebody else. But when Dominic DeNucci comes to you and tells you, I want to wrestle cue ball, and you're a promoter, guess what you let him do?
You let him do what he wants to do.
You let him do what he wants to do. So Tom Brandy's sitting in the locker room with me, and he can witness this. He looks over at me, and Dominic DeNucci goes, let me talk to you, to the promoter right in front of me and Tom. And he goes, look, I don't want to wrestle the guy I trained. I want to wrestle cue ball. And the guy goes, okay. And Tom Brandy's sitting there. He looked at me, dead on eyes, like I've never seen Tom look. And he goes, how'd that feel? That's all he said, how'd that feel?
But you're feeling good. You feel great.
I feel like I could die the next day. My career would be complete. It's never going to get better than that. Wrestling Tom Brandy and Jimmy Superfly Snuka for Fort Dix, New Jersey, with 8,000 soldiers watching us. Me and Cicero against Snuka and Tom Brandy in a tag match.
Wonder who's laying down in that match.
Both of us. He hit us both of us. So I put that one together. You pinned us both at the same time.
Nice finish. Nice finish.
When you can put Jimmy over, I mean, there was nothing better. I put over Brutus, and Tom had a show, and he had about 1,700 people there. Tom Brandy always ran big shows. Hooters would sponsor it. Major car dealerships. Tom's a big deal in Norristown, Pennsylvania, where he's from, Germantown, that area. Tom Brandy is probably as known as any quarterback from any hometown. People know and are proud of Tom Brandy. I mean, he's had a 35-year career. He's changed from Mr. Chippendale Tom Brandy to Johnny Gunn to going down and teaming up with Tom Zink and WCW. And they had the titles, and then come back, get off of there, and come work the indies with us guys for 5 years. Then Vince calls him, and he makes him Salvatore Sincere. And the second that Tom's up there and he gets any control, he calls me, Cicero, Carino, and I think Julio, and said, look, I got you guys on as enhancement talent on this next show. Boom, we went, everybody wrestled, and we were booked on all the East Coast shows for 3.5 years. So, Kevin Kelly told me, he goes, you were one of my favorite guys. And I had a conversation with Howard Finkel, and I'd ask him, I said, let me ask you a question. I said, did you finally watch my videotape? And the videotape was terrible. It was me with a handlebar mustache, my hair, you've seen it, right?
I've seen it.
8 balls on my knee, and I talked about my pool stick was named Bertha, and I talked about how I take Bertha to the ring for backup, and it was just so corny. It was 90-3, and I sent it up there, man. And once I sent it, I was sorry I sent it. I'm like, oh my God.
You're lucky Vince didn't get a hold of that, because I'll tell you right now, Bertha is going to the ring with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bundy said that he missed the boat on getting the heel's heel. So, I got a lot of compliments over the year. Very humbling career. When you get to wrestle guys like Brutus Beefcake in front of 1,700 people, and, he comes in late. He comes over. He goes, hey, Q, how you been? Good, Eddie, how you been? He goes, just put something together for us, okay? I said, yeah, I got it. So, I mean, because it's great when Bundy did that to me in every match I had with him after the first one.
Let's sidebar for a minute, just
Oh,
really
yeah.
quick. One thing he brought up a few minutes ago was Bruno Sammartino, and as we both know, a Hall of Fame career, finally took his rightful place in the WWE Hall of Fame. Just curiosity, and I guess for the fans. What are your thoughts on the career he had and the legacy that he left behind?
Well, I'll tell you this. Bruno Sammartino attracted my attention as a very young man. I told the story when my mom was screaming for my dad. I ran into the living room and she was watching wrestling. Now, here's a shy, quiet, reserved lady from upstate New York freaking out. My dad ran in and goes, "What's up? What's up?" She goes, "Who's killing him on TV?" Freddie Blassie had a head busted open. And my mom expected my dad to stop the fight because she got so into it. So when I saw that, I was like, whoa. I want to be able to give people that reaction now. It could have been roller derby that she was watching and reacted that way. It could have been underwater Himalayan folk dancing. We're not sure. Could have been. So it could have been pretty much anything. And I was going to become that person that could take my mother and put her on that roller coaster ride for that 2 or 3 minutes. So at 9, I knew I was going to be a professional wrestler. So it's easy to have a career as a professional wrestler when you decide at 9 years old that's going to be your career. So, my fate was sealed. But I watched a lot of Bruno because back then we got the WWF and first the WWF. So, I go all the way back to Ivan Koloff. So, Bruno to me was the all-American story. Immigrant, very poor. He was very, very outgoing about his poor upbringing. Came to this country, and look what he made of himself. He never said that, but look what he made of himself. I mean, the man, and I say this with the greatest respect, and this is a compliment for Bruno. He was the man that could do the least and get the biggest reaction in the world. I mean, he did not have to do much and people would pop. He could get them to pop on command. It was kind of ironic. In the back, he says, "Watch, I'm going to pop them 5 times." And boom, they pop. I mean, he never said that, but boom, they pop 5 times. That's the kind of control, skill, and ability that one acquires with a career similar to the great Bruno Sammartino.
Absolutely.
And, got to know him later in life. My good buddy Tom Brandy was very close with Bruno. His passing was very difficult. Tom and him have been friends for 20 years and close friends. And, I mean, it was really difficult for those of us that knew him, when he died because he was a legend that never acted like a legend. He was the type of guy that treated you like you were the biggest star in the world when he met you. Like you meant something to him and to the business. And it's very difficult to come up with a list excuse me, of people who can affect other people so positively. It really is. And it's a testament. And it's hard to talk about because, you meet the man, you get to know him a little bit. He's calling your matches, you're seeing him every month. And then a guy like Tom goes on to be friends with him and sees him, continually up until his passing. So Bruno meant so much more to this business than the average fan knows. He made anybody believe that they could be a professional wrestler. He was the perfect story. He was an immigrant. He lived poor. He learned a skill. He worked regular jobs. He became a wrestler. And he became the world champion when winning the world championship meant not something, but everything.
Yes, it did.
People carried that title like it was what it was, a ticket to fame and fortune. And Bruno held that title for a very long time, and he held it with the ultimate respect at all times.
Yes, yes.
And who can forget him and Zbyszko's blow-off match? I mean, bad idea to do it in a stadium that seats 50,000, but it was a great show. You know, the student against the teacher. I look. Matt Griffin, who follows us, his name was J.C. North when he wrestled. He was a Marine that came to me, went through my wrestling school, and when I trained him, I'd close the school. He's like, "Well, how am I going to train?" I said, "Well, you have to drive me every weekend to every show I go to." Now, keep in mind, I'm hot at that time. I got 5 or 6 titles at once, and I'm really going Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and sometimes Tuesday. So we're going. The first day he picks me up, it's snowing like crazy. We got to go to the Eastern Shore. And he picks me up in a brand new car. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And I always called him Bullwhip because there was an old show called Bullwhip Griffin when I was growing up. And his name's Matt Griffin, so I call him Bullwhip. So Bullwhip pulls up in a new whip. And I'm like, "What are you doing, kid?" He goes, "Look, if I got to drive the champ around for a year, I want to make sure I drive him around in a comfortable car. It's not going to break down." I said, "You're going to be something in this business, kid."
Where were you when Andre was coming up?
Yeah. Oh my God. Listen. He would go and get my drinks, get my coffee. He would go to the store, pick me up 2 apples and a half a pound of turkey breast, make sure there's no nitrates in it. So I was living clean back then. I would send him grocery shopping when I got to the show, and he would come back with everything I wanted for the show. I was kind of like, people think that like, oh, Cue Ball thought he was a rock star. I did, because we had that lifestyle for a very short period of time in our lives. So guess what? I always had guys that did things for me. Brian Holhouse, a great friend of mine, just went through surgery for a tumor on his brain not too long ago. Brian was my go-to guy. Brian never wanted to wrestle, never wanted to referee, just wanted to help. Brian would go to the airport and pick up Jim Neidhart and the Iron Sheik and Buddy Landell and Brutus Beefcake and all Bam Bam Bigelow. All these guys that wrestled at the IPWA, mine and Kevin Carson's promotion. All these guys, he would go and get them. Well, what he's done is he created this massive friendship with these guys for giving him rides. Now he calls Beefcake twice a week. He calls Billy Gunn twice a week, and they talk. I mean, he's such a great guy that he could write a book about his career in wrestling, but not in wrestling. I mean, just very interesting. All these guys are Bedford. He picks up Road Warrior Animal everywhere. They're buddies. So, I mean, this is more than a guy picking people up. Now, this is a guy that travels to go see Beefcake or travels for the weekend and stays at Billy Gunn's house. This is the guy.
Yeah.
So, the opposite of him is Kathy Fitzpatrick. She's the girl that's in Jersey. Brian's in Baltimore, but they've done that for years for promoters for shows, and they have made incredible friendships with superstars in this business.
Well, look at the stories on Owen. Owen used to go to towns. He'd make friends with the fans, stay at their house for the night, so he didn't have to get a hotel room.
Oh, I did that plenty of times. You know why? There'd be me, Cicero, Julio, and some extra moving interchangeable part. I'm not sure who. But the 3 of us always, and we'd end up with one room with 2 double beds. We'd pull the mattresses off. 2 guys would get the box springs, 2 guys would get the mattress.
Jeez.
That's how. So don't think that I didn't take advantage of making friends with fans and being invited to their house instead of a hotel, and went and had meals cooked for me. And people treat me like I was, Hulk Hogan in their house. The mayor of Punxsutawney had me over. Every weekend I wrestled for Allied Powers Wrestling Federation. I went to the mayor's house. And I stayed overnight with his family. I mean, I'm still friends with him, with both his daughters. It's crazy. But you build these relationships with people, and it's incredible. And it's a lifetime. It's just fantastic.
All right, I got to go to break. When we come back, what do you say we get into this NWA topic?
We better. We don't have much time left.
Fancy that.
Let's go pay some bills.
All right, we are back here on Turnbuckles, Trunks, and Titles on the one and only Triple T Radio Network. And of course, I'm Nick, and you already know the man who dines with death and he snacks on everything, and he's the man of the hour, the man with the power. He's got arms that are bigger than my head. Cue Ball Carmichael. Q, welcome back.
Well, hey Nick, it's good to be back. And listen, guys, I'm sorry I got off topic there and had a little rough spot, but that's what happens when you. Um,
Talk
that's just
about legends.
what happens. That's just what happens. But we're gonna get back to the TV title though, and I think we left off with number 39. Bobby Eaton had just won it from Steve O, January 22nd, 1981, in Atlanta. So now we got the belt on Bobby Eaton, who at the time is a heel. So when they want to move the title to another heel, they need the baby face in the middle to make the transition. Everybody follow that? So it's a pretty simple transition. So Bobby Eaton wins it, and the next day he loses it back to Steve O. Good old Steve Olszanowski. So Steve had, that's why I went by Steve O, right? Steve had it in January and lost it in February to Kevin Sullivan. Now you have to understand when the TV title is defended on television, there's a lot of title changes to keep people interested. It is
Absolutely.
a championship where you can put it on a guy and go fill an arena yet. But in the NWA, this was a stepping stone. Every title, the Western States Heritage title, the Virginia title, the Alabama title,
But that's
all these
why the NWA belt usually was on somebody for a very long time. You know, they had
heavyweight.
these belts.
Look back into the 80s, 70s, and 80s, and look at the WWE having Bruno champ for 7 years and then Backlund. I mean, that's a long stretch between two baby faces,
Yes, it
right?
is.
So, and they had to throw some heels in, but you didn't get to see a lot of title changes. See, and that was the mentality of Vince. Vince is like, people will pay more to see the good guy win. And down south, it was like, no, people pay more to see the heel get his ass kicked type thing. So
Yep.
that's just the way it went. So Steve-O loses it to Kevin Sullivan. So now Kevin Sullivan's guy is going to be so soon.
All right, we're back. I don't even know what happened. Q, pick it up. We're talking about Steve-O. You're switching belts. We'll talk about this in a few minutes.
Right. What happened was Steve Keirn's the last guy to have it. They deactivated it for 2 years. They let it set. Now, I don't know how much you heard, but if you take something from somebody that belongs to them, don't they want it back?
Yep.
So when they took the NWA TV title away and people were going to the tapings, they were going to the TV events in the studio, there wasn't being a title defended every week. So after 2 years, with the pressure from the fans, they decided to reactivate the title so fans could see a TV champion defend the title on TV. So it sat for 2 years from April 1st, 1981 to May 28th, 1983. And the first champion in a round robin tournament defeats Ron Garvin and becomes the NWA television champion on May 28th, 1983. None other than my friend. That's right, Bubba, the Iron Sheik.
I love it.
A lot of the fans don't know, but I was on the road for 2 years with the Sheik. And when I mean on the road for 2 years with the Sheik, I picked him up at the airport in Philly. I picked him up at the airport in Baltimore. And when I picked him up, we went and did a show together. And it was the only time I was ever a successful babyface, is when I wrestled the Iron Sheik.
Sure you were.
He could still get heat. I'm not a good babyface. I'll tell everybody that. I don't have the House of Fire stuff. I don't know how to get it. I'm a heel by training, right? So when I'm with the Sheik, I'm like, USA, USA, which is
That's all you got to do.
And Sheik's like, he waved his flag, I'd go to do the clubs, and he'd hit me with the flag, and the match would start. So, we took that on the road, and I tell a little road story that I can tell. The Iron Sheik and I picked him up in Philadelphia. Funny story, Christian York was with us. I sent Christian York into the airport to get him because back then it was pre 9/11. You could park right out front and wait for a guy.
Yep.
The guy could go right to the gate. So we're talking in the 98, something like that, 99. So Christian's in there forever. So I talked to the cop that's handling parking. I said, look, my kid went in there. I didn't mean my kid. I just always called him kid. I said, my kid went in there to pick up somebody, and he's been gone forever. Can I go look for him? You leave your car right here, sir. So I go in, and there's a damn line of people lined up to get the Sheik's autograph after he does his club demonstration because he brought his clubs on a damn plane. So he's like, Cue Ball, come here. Listen, keep these jabronis about 10 feet away. Let them come up one at a time. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. Like, oh, you got to back up. No, there's like 35 people here. I'm not kidding you. I'm like, you got to back up. You got to back up. Listen, I'm going to let one up at a time for security reasons. So like, oh, okay. So they come up, and the Sheik go, hey, Bubba, you want a picture? And they're like, yeah. And he goes, what's your name? Spell it for me. So Sheik spells out their name and signs it, Love, the Iron Sheik, and puts a date on it. He hands it to him. He goes, $5.
I think I
They're like,
heard this
they're
story
like,
before.
and he says, $5. It's not for me. It's for charity. It doesn't go to the Sheiky, baby. It's charity. Oh, okay. Boom. Person goes away happy. Next person, come on up, one at a time. What's your name, honey? I'm the Iron Sheik. Hands it to him as soon as they take it. He goes, $5. They're like, what? He goes, hey, it goes to charity, not me. Oh, okay. Boom. So the Sheik gets done. It's a true story. He makes like $350. But he's been in there for like an hour and a half.
Oh yeah, he.
Now we're starting to look at the clock, right? Now, when you pick the Sheik up for a Saturday show, you pick him up Friday morning. then sure you can go the 6 hours to the show. Because when you travel with the Iron Sheik, and nobody knew who I was, and I would always let him out on one side of the building, drive, and get out where people saw me. They didn't see him. You know what I mean? Old school stuff.
Yeah.
So drop him off a block away at the bowling alley, tell him to find a ride. So the Sheik goes into this. We go into this like bar slash restaurant, mom and pop company. Walk in there, and the guy goes, takes his glasses off. He goes, "Oh my God, it's the Iron Sheik!" And he's like, yeah, "That's right, jabroni. How are you?" So the guy comes up and he goes, "Can I help you with something?" He goes, "I'd like a case of cold Molson." So the guy brings it out, sets it down. She goes, "I'll sign you a picture." He signs the picture. You put it up on the wall. He goes, "Is there anything else I can get you?" She goes, "Yeah, I guess we'll take one more case of Corona or one more case of Molson Cold." Then,
uh,
then the most embarrassing moment of Q-Ball Carmichael's career. The Sheik signing another picture for the guy, and the Sheik looks at the guy and points to me. He goes, "Hey, Q-Ball's a wrestler too. You want his autograph and picture?" The guy goes, "Nah, that's okay." No, that's okay. I'm like
oh no.
drinking in my seat. The Sheik's like, "Don't worry about that guy. It was a jabroni." So now we're going to Pennsylvania. Now here's the best part. We're wrestling for Doug Flex, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to the Pocono Mountains. And the Pocono Mountains is known for these big old hotels and a couple new ones too. But people would go up there from New York City. That was the biggest vacation spot for families. Then it became this weird stuff with heart-shaped tubs and honeymoon. But before that, it was a family-oriented group up in the Poconos. So we go up there and we're staying in a place called, I got to say this right, it's with a K, Kunstler's. So we're staying there. It's a very predominantly Jewish community, and I
Oh,
mean that
good, good.
with the utmost respect. So everybody's staying in a room, but they have a full size indoor pool. They have tennis courts inside. They have everything. There's something for everybody to do. They had this massive double basketball court that you can also put tennis up on, and 4 people can play. 8 people can play tennis at once if you play singles. 16 if you play doubles. So they disassemble that and put a ring in the middle of it. Now we are in a bunch of vacationing families vacation. And what do? Is they buy the show from us. So we don't care if anybody shows up or not. We do. We want everybody to show up. But I mean, the promoters paid, the boys are paid, the show was bought. Like 750 people come out of their hotel rooms and come to this event. They'd advertised it all over town. They had posters up. They did everything right. They packed this. I mean, it was packed. And the chairs were literally 3 feet from the ring. If you threw me over the top rope, I'm in the second row. And it's just they're pulling chairs from everywhere. And they can't get chairs. They can't get enough chairs. And it's just jammed. And then the opening match, I said, if they pop on an arm drag, it's the right crowd. Guy shoot the guy and ducks, ducks, duck. Came a Japanese arm drag. Boom, place went nuts. I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna be fun. So, you judge a crowd by that. I tell everybody, if you're on the second half of the card, you guys need to get out there. Or if you're after the second match, you need to get out there. Watch the finish on the first match, right? Let's say it's the schoolboy. Guy wins. Next one, let's say it's fly a crossbody off the top. The guy gets pinned. They're clean matches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You watch that. Let's say one did a schoolboy, one did a small package. Okay, so small package schoolboy finished off 2 wrestlers in the first 2 matches, right?
Yeah.
Guess what both of those become later in the show? They
What?
become false.
Yeah.
Because when I get schoolboyed in the 5th match, people are gonna pop thinking it's gonna get pinned, right? It's great because I saw a guy get pinned earlier. It's all psychological, but it works. They think, oh, he's got him, boom, and he kicked out. Oh no, if somebody gets you in a small package and you reverse it and roll them over, and then you both kick out. People go nuts for that because they've seen 2 people get beat with those moves. So those moves become true false finishes during the match. And that's a way to educate every young wrestler. Watch the first 2 or 3 matches. Even if you're the second match, watch the first match. You'll get a false finish. If you're third or fourth, you should be watching those matches. Hell, I know that my favorite thing to do at a wrestling show is to go out and watch the first 2 or 3 young guy matches. That's my favorite thing to do. And then if they come back and they go, how was that? And I go, oh, you really want me to tell you? And they're like, yeah. Then I tell them. And then what happens is there's a young man named Johnny Romano, the pop star Johnny Romano. That's his gimmick. He's a vegan. Him and his lovely wife, Angela, personal friends of mine, came to my camp, loved their kids, just saw them in last October. We were all together. And I said to Johnny Romano, I told him to read this thing. And what we'll do is, want to go to a commercial real quick, then we'll get into it, Nick? Or
Yeah. Let's
quick
do
commercial
that. Yeah.
time. Also, do us a favor. Go to YouTube, Triple T Radio, one word, space, live. Click it. Watch us on YouTube. Check it out.
All right, guys, we're back here on Turnbuckles, Trunks, and Titles. I am Nick, joined alongside Q Ball Carmichael. And, well, before Q gets into it there, we had a little issue here at the studio with one with I guess we will call it the producer's switchboard, and
Well, I think
it's
it
all
was.
fixed.
I think it was an IDIOT error.
Huh? Oh yes, yes.
IoT,
I
idiot.
like that.
Look,
That's
I worked for a short time. Became a Microsoft certified systems engineer 2000 track because I was bored. I took a job with a company in a cubicle in a server room, $900 a week to start plus bonuses. I lasted 3 weeks. I couldn't do it. I said, all I'm doing is talking to computers and people going, Chris, my internet's down. I can't get anything. I lost my screen. I don't know. You just got to resize it. Boom, there it is. Have a nice day, Matilda. So,
Tilda.
who
Good
knows?
job.
Maybe, maybe Matilda. But, it's crazy because people fear you because you're the IT guy, right?
Oh
They
yeah,
don't want to upset you. They don't want to make you mad. They don't want to engage you in conversation because they're afraid they'll offend you. So nobody talks to the IT guy. And the IT guy, guess what? Is the guy with all the power because nobody has a clue what he's doing or how to do it.
that's
Nobody.
right.
So it was gonna my career was winding down. So I went and did that for 3 months. So it was fun.
That's funny. That
You
is
know.
funny.
Yeah, so cubicle life wasn't for me, believe it or not. So let's jump back into this because it's great. We had a little Iron Sheik story, and then the Iron Sheik loses the title to Ronnie Garvin. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Ronnie Garvin
Yes,
because
we are.
Ronnie Garvin was truly one of my favorite, like tough guys. He really was. So, I don't know if a lot of people know his real name. Can I give it out? Should I give it out?
Oh,
Roger
absolutely.
Roger Barnes, Ron Garvin, born March 30th, 1949. He's from Canada, guys.
That's right.
Hey,
See,
hey, that's awesome. He wrestled, most of us learned of him as rugged Ronnie Garvin. You remember
that's what
that?
I know him of. Yes,
I'm telling you, he was rugged, man. He was a tough dude. Um, he headlined the Starrcade '87 pay per view. I mean, come on, man. Starrcade was a big deal. He was the headliner in that one Starrcade '87 pay per view. He was the headline match. Ronnie Garvin got super hot, super quick. It was like watching the perfect storm, right? You got the right guy, the right name, the right build, the right ability, but you also got a crowd who looks at him as the right guy, the right build, the right character, the right
yeah.
person. So it's a perfect storm of a promoter comes up with a concept and people suck it up,
Oh yeah, yeah, and
like
that's where it matters.
put like syrup on dry pancakes, baby. Where'd it go? It disappeared and it burst in your flames. He was an incendiary device. Let me tell you something. He really was. So I mean, he had a ton of titles. We're not really going to go through that because there's too much of them. But he started wrestling when he was 17 years old. Did you know that?
I
17.
didn't know. No,
Yeah, he started wrestling early in his career. Um, in 62, he adopted a ring named Ron Garvin. And then, of course, when he teamed up with Terry Garvin, really, is there anything more to say? Terry Garvin, um, I'm still in touch with his widow.
nice, nice.
Yeah, yeah, she's very kind. We talk on Facebook. I check on her once in a while. And yeah, it's been a very good friendship. Matter of fact, I got to send her a message. I haven't talked to her in a while. But great lady. Not going to tell anybody her name. But here's the interesting thing. I want you to think about Pat Patterson being from Montreal area, right? Heavy
Yeah,
French, right? Always had the heavy French, right? Ronnie Garvin's from Montreal. Never
you would
heard it.
never know it.
Never heard it.
No.
That's when somebody decides to master the diction of a different language.
Yep.
You know, like, oh, let's put another shrimp on the barbie, mate. That's clearly Australian.
It's funny you
And I,
say that. I just said that to my wife like an hour ago. For real.
Hello, old boy. Would you care for a spot of tea? Clearly, that's
I
English.
didn't say that.
Oh, that's right, lad. I got to speak a bit of the brogue, yeah.
Whoa.
Clearly Scottish,
It's
right?
really good Scottish, too.
Well, Sister and I had $1 million gimmick, but he got involved with somebody, I think, and I loved to death, but he was in a toxic relationship at that time, so it sucked the life out of him. But we had bought the shirts, the blue singlet that you see me in. That coat of arms is the Wallace coat of arms, Sir Christopher Wallace, who was played by Mel Gibson. You know, so it's the clan of Wallace, and we painted half of our faces blue. It went out, and I had a couple times where he couldn't make it. I did it as a singles match. We did it. Listen to this. We did that gimmick, and I was the mic guy because I got the Scottish accent down. So Sister and I are wrestling. This is when we're wrestling at Fort Dix. We're wrestling Jimmy Snuka and Tom Brandy, the main event. Me and Sister on the tag match. We come out with that. Blue Meanie loves this story, man. I'm telling you, Brian loves this story. We're supposed to come out to bagpipes, right? I tell the guy track 9. He plays track 2, which is called Butterflies in the Sun. And it starts with literally a minute of crickets chirping. Literally. Yeah, I'm dead serious. I swear to you.
I'd have
So
killed
Sister
him.
are coming out to crickets chirping, literally.
Yeah, and he would have been dead.
Oh, well, we both came out to it, man. Listen, I was furious because that was like the debut of the big Bravehearts. We had half our faces painted blue like the movie, and that was the birth of the Bravehearts, way before the Highlanders or anything. And I actually trademarked that, so I still own the trademark on that name because that gimmick with him and I were both in the best shapes of our lives playing. I'm playing his uncle because I'm 12 years older than him. I'm his uncle from Scotland that came to America to save him. So that's why he has no Scottish accent, but I do because I came from
Wow.
Scotland to save him. So we had made this whole video, or we're making in the process of making this whole video of us sitting outside on a log talking and me talking with a Scottish accent and telling him why, and we're going to send it up to Vince, and it wasn't the right time. It's unfortunate because I think we would have got to deal with that, especially as good as Cicero was. I mean, he was far better wrestler than I ever was. But you know, and that's the thing. If you watch the guys like Ronnie Garvin, who just he was like the first Stone Cold gimmick. He was just really a tough guy. They just sold him as a tough son of a bitch. And they did a great job and he got over. And I'm telling you, they called him the Hands of Stone. And all the boys said that nobody will hit you harder than Ronnie Garvin. And that's why he got
I've
that name.
heard that. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard that.
true story from him, Tater and guys.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard that too.
So anyway, reason I talked to him is we're going to get into the national heavyweight championship, and he's going to show up in that picture too. So we're going to talk some more about him when we get there. I don't want to stay too long on him here because he has a really good run with the national heavyweight title. So Garvin has it in July 17th, wins it in Atlanta, and then he drops it to the promo man, Jake the Snake Roberts,
No.
the walking, talking human
Yeah.
promo machine. Who can ever forget that promo he did with Mean Gene, man? She wallow in the muck of avarice. I mean, right from the Bible,
Yeah.
he puts it in the
Nice and
promo.
slow.
Shit.
Nice and
Oh,
slow, and don't raise your voice.
perfectly delivered. You know what Bill Eadie told me years ago? He says, Chris, when the guys are yelling doing their promos, you're the guy that goes out and talks. When the guys are talking, you're the guy that goes
Yeah.
out and yells. You know, he said, keep that in mind in your career. It'll do well for you. So, and it did. And it was great advice. And, you know, my history with Jake, I've covered it. Great guy. Supposed to wrestle each other one time, and he changed it because he just had too much respect. So then what they do is Jake vacates the title immediately because apparently he used some kind of foreign object. So he has it literally for seconds. And he goes right back to guess who? Ronnie Garvin. So he literally has it for like a day and they give it back. Well, like 12 days. And there was a big deal. I remember there was a big deal. The NWA board of directors, David and Crockett, and are going to go sit down in council and they're going to decide what's going to happen with this thing. And we've got the video, folks. We're going to show a clip here. And Gordon Soley's announcing the clip and saying what a treacherous, lecherous move it is. And people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So they strip him of the title. But it was a pretty big deal. They made a
It
big deal out of
was.
a foreign object. And typically, like there's a if you don't have anything as a foreign object, I've wrestled a lot of guys reaching in my tights and getting nothing, nothing. But they think I got something.
Yeah.
I put it down in my boot, and they think and it's great because the ref's one step behind. I put it in my singlet the first time. I take it out. Next time it's under my arm. He checks my singlet, doesn't find it. Says, no, he doesn't have anything. And take it out.
It's all about how you play the character.
But Ricky Morton taught me what this is called in the business back in the day. Do you know what it is? It's called a donut hole.
I don't at all.
Ricky Morton told me that years ago. He goes, "You gonna hit him with something or a donut hole?" I said, "What the hell's a donut hole?" He goes, "Well, if you don't use anything, it's called a donut hole for obvious reasons." I'm like, "Yeah, I feel like a dick right now. Thank you."
As do I.
Yeah. So, I decided that's what I would do, and I learned how to hide the gimmick wrestling the Sheik, right? Because he would take his damn toothbrush to the ring, and that would be the foreign object was his toothbrush, man.
Oh yeah, and
I
he'd get it over.
hope he didn't use it afterwards. Oh, it was over big time.
Yeah.
He had taped it up. He had taped it up, so
I could
it was
use
really
anything.
yeah, it was
He
really
really
big,
could.
and just crazy, man. He was so good at that. He was so good at moving it around in different places and stuff. So you remember stuff like that. So anyway, we go back, and now we got Ron Garvin as the champion. So we got to get it off him and do something with it. Let's put it on a heel, right? We're the National Wrestling Alliance. We put titles on who?
Heels.
Exactly. Thank you for participating.
Well, it's funny because at first I thought, is he going to speak or is he waiting for me to say heels? He's waiting for me to say heels.
Next time I'll give you the Iggy.
Give me the Iggy, I'm in.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we're back to Ron Garvin, or back to Jake has it. It's held up. It goes back to Ronnie Garvin. Then it does an interesting thing. Is Ronnie Garvin drops it to the human wrecking machine, Bob Roop. Everybody's seen the video.
Oh,
Have
Roop.
you seen the
Wow.
video of him
Yep.
taking care of that guy that wanted to be a wrestler? That's exactly. God bless him for showing that. That's exactly how he was treated in Hawaii. When I started wrestling in Hawaii, they looked at me. I didn't go. Don't believe Wikipedia. I did not train with Lars Anderson. I trained at Peter Mavia's Palama Settlement Gym. It's always wrong on the internet. Lars told me no twice.
Oh,
So I went,
really?
oh, yeah.
He actually told you no, though.
He told me no. He said,
Wow.
big enough, you're going to get hurt. And
Wow.
I looked at this guy next to me. Now, keep in mind, I'm 23 years old. I'm 6'1". I'm 225 pounds, and there's not a lot of wasted space, you know. So I was really shocked. And then finally, Leah agreed to have me train with the guys at the Palama Settlement Gym. So we got Steve Yaffe, we got Farmer Boy Ipo, we got Diamond Fanini, we got Ernie Stevens. They're all local. So they're training me. It's my first day. And let me tell you something. They showed me the basics. The next day I went back. The basics got a little harder. The next day I come back. Shit went off the rails. Pardon my French. But all of a sudden, I was wrestling Ipo. And then we do a finish. And then Stevie would come in and wrestle me. Then Ernie would come in and wrestle me. Then Diamond Fanini would come in and wrestle me. And they would go in succession. There was about 7 guys. Black Sampson was one of them. There was about 7 guys and a girl that every day I wrestled every single one of them. They took a break. I wrestled everybody every day for 3 hours. It was total.
Wow.
Aimed at the gauntlet because my day never ended. I never got a break. I didn't get to get out of the ring. They were testing my ass and they were pushing me hard, man. Let me tell you something. I was in a corner, Farmer Boy Epo, 450 pounds, runs like a cat across the ring and crushes me in the corner. I want to point out something about the Palama Settlement Gym. It was not a ring. It was 4 posts drilled into the concrete with a bag of sand in the middle and 3 ropes that sucked. But they wouldn't go anywhere because it was anchored to the floor. But when you hit it, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about taking a pillowcase and filling it up with sand and then jumping on it for comfort. And that's what that whole ring is in one giant pillowcase. But the texture of it was the same as burlap. So I came home with burns on my knees and my elbows and my forearms and bleeding every day.
Jeez.
And every day I went back, I ran the gauntlet. In the gauntlet. In the gauntlet. 4 days a week, sometimes 5. One of the guys invited me to the beach, right?
Yeah.
He's like, we're going to Eva Beach. Come up and hang out with us for the day. It's more like this. Hey, bro, we're going to Eva Beach. You like come hang out with us for the day, brother? That's pidgin English in Hawaii. Sure, bro. I'll come up. Oh, brother, glad you got here. Hey, we're going to do some of this wrestling a little bit down here. Let's go down to the wet sand at the edge of the ocean. You know, where waves come in, where the sand's wet real hard. He goes, I'm going to body slam you, okay? I'm like, okay. Picks me up and slams me in the wet sand like he was trying to drive me through the ocean floor so they could find new reservoirs of crude oil.
Wow.
I've never been hit so hard in my life by anything.
No, you probably haven't.
I got back up, I pulled him in, scooped him up, and said, your turn.
Yep, most certainly.
And then we went and ate, and then he went to the guys at the gym and talked to Leah, and we had a party for Peter. My VA had passed the year before. So we're down, I'll never forget it. It's the P.E. Koi Steakhouse, downtown Honolulu. A guy named Mario Savoldi owned it at the time. Good guy. Knew him. Went down. So we're at a long table. Now there's probably 10 on each side and like 2 straight across. And I'm sitting to the left of Leah Maivia. I'm her guest at this. So what happens is Leah stands up and makes a toast to Peter. The person next to her stands up and makes a toast for Peter. Now, I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed sometimes, but when it gets down to the 8th person on that side, I said, oh, crap, it's going to come my turn. It's going to be my turn to toast Peter Maivia in front of everybody that's known him his entire life and loved him. But I never met him because he passed before he got to the school. So I have no idea what I said at the toast, except for talking about seeing him against superstar Billy Graham in Madison Square Garden. And Graham took the ukulele, broke it over his head. And, you know, I thought he was the greatest baby face Peter Maivia was. He'd just get up there and strum that ukulele and people pop. Real simple. Great man. Truly, truly great guy that took his money back to Samoa, where he's from, and invested in businesses and things for people, jobs for people back in his native Samoa, which is American Samoa is an American territory, just so you know. There's some Samoan islands that are not, but American Samoa is, is part of like Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah.
It's cared for by the state. Guam, same way. And, of course, Hawaii and Alaska were for years before they were added to the Union to make the 50 states. So, anyway, it comes around to me. I say something. Leah stands up, puts her hand on my shoulder, and looks at everybody and says, he's family now. Next day, I started training to be a wrestler.
Nice.
Yeah. After months of getting this shit, well, about 6 weeks of getting the crap beat out of me.
That's
So,
enough.
when you achieve that kind of compliment from a lady who carried herself, despite what you believe on the internet, don't believe any of it about Leah Maivia unless it's good because they're lying. So this lady was so kind and so nice to me and took such good care of me that it's 10 o'clock. It was unbelievable. So, great respect to her, great respect to her daughter, great respect to her son, The Rock.
Oh, yes.
Respect to the entire family because, and I tell Samu Anoy this all the time, right? Samu's famous wrestler's family is. His dad was one of the Wild Samoans. So, his brothers all wrestled, cousins all wrestled. I've talked to him before about that. I said, look, even though Thad has trained me too, my roots in wrestling training make me Samoan where you can't see it. It makes me Samoan in the heart, which is the most important part to the Samoan people. So they know that when I say I am Samoan in my heart, they know that I'm being genuine about it because these people said yes when somebody else said no. They allowed me to start my career, you know, and they went from adversary to, just the complete opposite. They was like brothers and sisters. I was told when I first wrestled there, if I hurt the guy I wrestled, I would have to pay his family's bills while he recovered. That was what they did. If you hurt
Wow.
somebody and they couldn't work, guess what? Get another job because you're paying for the food and the rent and the electric and everything else that goes for his family if you hurt them. So that was her number one rule. You hurt somebody, accident or not, you're going to pay their bills while they recover.
Wow.
So, that's a ethical, moral character trait that I respected incredibly. I mean, it was just I felt blessed to spend time around Leah Maivia. She really, really was she was like a movie star to me. You know what I mean? She was beautiful. She always wore the moo in the different colors, the Hawaiian dress. She always looked great. She always did her hair and her makeup, and flower behind her ears. She was just incredible. But the respect that the Samoan community showed to Peter on his birthday after his passing, getting together and sharing a meal and making an outsider a family member. I want you to think about that for a minute. Take a complete outsider who left when I left upstate New York in 1983, I left every friend, every relative, everybody I'd ever known, every place I'd ever worked, every friend I ever had before the internet, before cell phones, back when it was $10 for 10 minutes for a phone call through Ma Bell, and picked up my ass and went to Hawaii because there was 2 wrestling schools there and I knew one of them was going to take me. So it was the second one, but God guides our lives in mysterious ways. And if you're not a believer, that's fine. I am. But he guides your life. He puts people in your life for a reason and for a season. So when these people pass through your lives, there's a reason and there's a season of the friendship. And those are the memories that you cherish long after that person's gone, and you share them with people so you can understand what kind of lady that Leah Maivia was. There was some big scandal that she extorted this guy for wanting to run a wrestling show in Hawaii. None of that's true. None of that. I don't care what the lawyer said. None of that's true. She didn't set up nobody. She didn't force anybody to use her ring or her guys. Look, when you're going to here's wrestling etiquette 101. If you're going to run close to where I run, you pick up the phone and say, look, I'm not trying to pick apples underneath your tree, but I got an opportunity to use this building. What do you say we work together? I use 3 or 4 of your boys with my boys, and you come to the show, and I'll throw you, $50 just for coming. And let's just meet and hang out and get to know each other. It's the proper etiquette. Or the other way, I'm just going to go run the show. Fuck him. That's not the attitude to have. You pick up the phone. You don't send a text. You pick up the phone. You call them and you tell them, hey, maybe we should meet. And I learned my lesson from that from Dennis Coralluzzo. God rest his soul. Great NWA promoter, former president of the National Wrestling Alliance when it reemerged in the 80s and it was coming on strong. And I had a show I was running for the Athletic Center, and it happened to be right next to where Dennis ran his shows. So I'm going to go into the Dennis Coralluzzo story next week when we open up the show. But guys, look, we're getting ready to just about wrap it up, aren't we, Nick?
We sure are. It was a great show and a lot of fun.
Yeah, I hope everybody, doesn't take umbrage with my wandering down memory lane like we did along the trip. But I think that, if I could watch somebody emotionally connect and go down memory road, I would at least enjoy it, if not live vicariously through it. Because, I'm just an average dude from a town of 400 people in upstate New York, So I appreciate everybody listening. Appreciate all your comments. I'll get to them in the next day or two. And Nick, great show. This is Cue Ball Carmichael, and we're signing off for Triple T Radio. Tuesday nights, 8 p.m., Triple T Radio. You can go over to YouTube, Triple T Radio, one word, space live. Hit us up on YouTube. Tons of videos and content. There's also a great show that's on Thursday night at 8 that I'm blessed to co-host with none other than illustrious Johnny Stewart of former AWA fame. And Johnny is my co-host. Nick's the producer. That's Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. It's called Truth Busters. And what we do is we give you the truth, not their truth. This is Cue Ball Carmichael and Nick London for Turnbuckles, Trunks, and Titles, baby. Triple T Radio. We signing out. Love y'all. Peace out.
It was actually a great bit of radio.